This is going to be the most important video that I have ever done. I just had a extremely enlightening self-realization moment that stemmed from, if you guys watched the last video I did, it was basically a response to Will Tennyson's video on body dysmorphia. I'll just give you a recap of that. You know, I never had body dysmorphia, never dealt with it before, and then told the story of, you know, where I'm at in terms of like how I view my career and even though I don't deal with body dysmorphia, I have those same type of symptoms in a sense to how I feel about my career. It was something that I just realized in that moment and I wanted to share with you guys, and I did. And luckily, it was also, I have an appointment with my therapist every like 3 months. You know, I go see him every 3 months, whatnot. And it was like a perfect time because like things have been like, you know, going very well. And I was like, I need to figure out what this is because it's something that I've always held over my head in a sense. So here's what it is, basically. At my therapy appointment yesterday, and this is crazy because like thoughts through my head is like, you're 40 years old and you're dealing with something still from 20 years ago? Like 20 plus years ago. And I went through some soul searching, some like, you know, like diving into my life, and you know, I forgave people, like all these things, like all the trauma and stuff, and like understanding that and dealing with it. And I came to the realization, I was like, oh my God, and my therapist blew my mind in a sense. And that's why I recommend going to somebody. Because I'll tell you how my journey has been. This is something that's basically what he said. And I'll tell you how my appointment went. So I go to my appointment basically, and you know, it's like, how are things going? And I say like, how's my work life? You know, things are doing all of that. You know, I'm dealing with it. You know, I'm managing that well. My at-home life I'm managing well. You know, my family, you know, all, you know, my father's, you know, he's sick, he's like dementia and whatnot, and you know, being at home and my brother being away from my family and whatnot, how am I dealing with that? And those things are great. All those things good. And I told him this one thing, I'm like, but I just did this video today and this is how I've been feeling. I just realized this about myself. And I told him, he's like, well, go on. He's like, well, so basically for me, I think I look at my second chance of me being where I'm at right now as being like necessarily like almost like a punishment. Like where I'm at right now, like I love where I'm at. I acknowledge everything what I'm doing 100% completely, but there's a part of me that looks at this part of my life as always being overshadowed by what could have been had I have did what I should have done as a kid in terms of like, you know, not getting in trouble and not being in court and then, you know, not doing my schoolwork, you know, all those things. And he's listening to me talk. He's like, hold on a second. And you're saying this is your fault? Why you didn't get the scholarships and go to school? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, and he said something to me, and he let me talk a little more. And then he's like, hold on a sec. So when you were a kid, the decisions you made then, you're blaming yourself for those decisions, and that's why you didn't get to where you would have went with all of your talents in football and everything else. And you think that your second chance, where you're at now, is a punishment. You're always measuring yourself to this. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, if I'm not mistaken, he's like, you know, we've worked for like, you know, 7 years now together. And when you came into me the first time, you were going through some very deep trauma with your family. And you know, I've been working with you for so long, and, you know, you've forgiven your family and, you know, your mother and your father and XYZ. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you haven't forgiven yourself. I was like, oh. You know what I mean? I was like, huh. So he's like, so I'm talking to him more, and because like, you know, he lets me do my thing and just talk, and I'm saying to him, like, asking more, I'm like, yeah, and I realized I had that trauma happen a long time ago. It was like, that was like a day that, you know, I had to watch people, you know, get like everything I didn't want to happen in my life. Like I lost it all, like everything. I was supposed to be, you know, in university. I'm like at least playing at a school that has 75,000 people in the stands. You know, I always look at my career as something that's like, it's admirable. It's, you know, what I've done. I see what people see. I 100% see what people see, but I can't accept it because somehow I have blamed where I'm at right now on my 18-year-old or all those things in my life that I did that led to me not getting those scholarships, the choices I made. And he made me really open my eyes and realize what I just said. I'm always like, yeah, I acknowledge that what I've done, but I'm always like, you can do better, you can do more. because I have this thing with my younger self that I blame him for where I'm at right now, even though where I'm at right now is amazing. But it's being overshadowed because I'm blaming this. And like being someone who has borderline personality disorder, and this is something that's very enlightening for me to even think even more, to dive even more deep into it, because I understand that illness so much and managing it. I just realized in that moment, oh my God, that I've been treating my younger self, I've been treating that person with the borderline personality disordered characteristics. BPD is like something like where you know, forgiving is very hard. It's very, very hard. You like hold something over someone's head forever. No matter what they do, you'll hold something over their head that they've done you that hurts so much that it's hard for you. Like that's one of the biggest things is like forgiveness for someone who deals with borderline personality disorder. And you know, the relationship between like the interpersonal or the relationships between someone who has BPD and someone else, it can be very rocky. It can be up and down. It can be like a roller coaster. It can be all these things because of a lot of the fear of abandonment, fear of, you know, being, you know, hurt, the trauma that's happened, you know, security, all those things that happen and stem from trauma. But at the same time, there's that relationship that you have that I didn't realize that I've been able to break that in my life. I've been able to break that. I've been able to fully submerge in myself and know and see and feel and manage those cues of when things are happening that, you know, when something happens on the outside, you know, a reaction makes me have to react, or, you know, it has to go into my mind first for me to be able to then, you know, express it or project it somehow. I'm able to take that in and express and project it in the proper way. And that's been something that's been really hard for me to do. That's been a big journey for me. And I do that with everybody else. I do that. I'm forgiving. It's not, I'm just saying, I'm thinking of this and it's like I'm very forgiving. Like there's people who've done things to me in my life that I'm like, because it's so freeing. It's like forgiveness is freedom. Oh my God, saying that makes me feel free right now. I am dead serious. Saying that right now makes me feel free. Being able to forgive somebody is freeing yourself from self-imprisonment of like anger that you hold on somebody. And I've been doing that to myself, not knowing that. Because everything else I treat myself you know, I'm not abusive to myself, and you know, I don't say things to myself. I don't speak down to myself. I don't talk down to myself. I don't say things in my mind that are like, you idiot. I say things that are uplifting. I say things that, you know, I make myself realize and recognize things that are happening in the moment, in the time, and all these things I'm doing. I acknowledge that, acknowledge all the things I've done and been through, and that is admirable, and that is, you know, strength, and that is empowerment and all those things. But at the same time, I have this thing I hold over myself, over my head. I have not been able to let go or even realize that I was doing. I didn't realize I was doing it, guys. I didn't realize I was doing it. I've said things, probably heard me say things like I'm always still playing football. In my head, like when I was talking to him about football, I was like, he's like, do you watch it? I'm like, I don't even watch it anymore. I can't watch football. You know what I mean? I can't watch football. I told him, like, yeah, I make excuses. Like, I'm like, yeah, man, I made excuses, like, you know, because I have a kid, I don't have time to watch football. I just can't watch, I don't watch football anymore. I just don't watch it. I've been invited over to watch football at my friends' houses. And I'm like, yeah, I don't, you know, I just find a way not to do it. You know what I mean? I played football for the first time in the last year, flag football. And for me, that was something that was like very hard to do, but I enjoy the shit out of it. But the reason why it took me so long to do it 10 years after playing football was because I'm like, you know, I was like, I'm done with that sport. I didn't realize I was carrying a negative thing with me for so long. So I was like, what do I do? It's like, I literally was like, what do I do? I'm like, how do you, he's like, first of all, like, this isn't something you could just be like, hey, it's done and over with. It's something you have to start doing and start realizing. You have to start forgiving yourself. And he said something to me, he's like, you can't go back with what you know now as a man. Like, how do I forgive myself? Because it was so, I just realized how I was treating myself. I treat myself, God, trust me guys, I am at a point in my life where I love, and that's just the depth of the disorder, of borderline personality disorder. It is. It's very in-depth, and understanding that being vocal about it is like very crazy, but I'm just being open with you guys. But like, trust me, like it's taken a long time for me to love who I am. To love Jonathan Zachary Shreve. I love him. It took me a long time for that. And I speak highly of him. And I look up to him. And I admire him. But I've never forgiven him. They say in like psychology, like, you know, you are who you are. You learn everything, like your mannerisms, the way you think, and you basically like develop all of that by the time you're like, you know, 17, 18 years old. And after that, you're basically, the only thing really changes from there is just like experience, like years and new experiences being a different age, which you've basically fully kind of developed at 18. And it's nuts. I've held that over myself for so long. So here's the things I've said to my therapist, and he was like, start doing these things. So for instance, like I have a lot of friends who be like, hey man, yeah man, yo Johnny, he just got 5th place at the Mass Olympia. Yeah, it's big. And I would be like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah. And in my head I'd be like, it ain't the Super Bowl. Like it's not, you know, I'm like, that's not a big thing to me, you know, even knowing it is for me to everyone else. And my therapist was like, people say that a lot. I'm like, yeah, I hear it a lot. And he's like, and it's pretty consistent. Like, I know you, and I've seen you for 7 years. He's like, I've seen you when you came in here and what you've done. He's like, it's not just one person saying it. He's like, to start forgiving yourself, start accepting that. Like, start accepting those things. One thing for me is hard to accept the things that I've done as being good enough. Because in my head, I've always been saying, I've effed up. That's what drove me here. Like, that's what drove me here right now is like, I would say it's almost not good enough, but I would be like, instead of saying it's not good enough, but before it was not good enough. And then by the time I started getting my mind more, you know, in line with being more positive, it was like, we can do better, we can do more. And it's like, you are doing more and you are doing better, you know? Accept that. Start accepting the things that you're hearing that are consistent. Like some of you guys out there, like, yeah, I acknowledge I got 580-something thousand subscribers on YouTube and I got there from being me, but I've never accepted it as being like enough. And not that you guys aren't showing that at all, but for me, it's always been this like, because in some other world, in my brain, some other world, if I would have made the right decisions as an 18-year-old, I would have been at the peak of where I should have been. And like reality is I probably could have broke my leg. Probably could have, whatever it was. I tore my ACL in this lifetime. Guess who's not going to the league anyway? You know what I mean? Like, so forgive yourself. Number one, forgive yourself. And the first thing understanding that is like, don't blame yourself for the state you were in during the time in your life that you were probably blaming yourself. What you know now, didn't know then. And then like on top of those things, it's not you, it's just you that's making decisions at that point in time. It's your life circumstances that all made all collectively had those decisions were stemmed from your current situation then. You can't judge yourself for that. I got some other things here that I'm gonna write that I wrote down that will help you guys. But these are things that I am doing for myself right now, because for me, I'm one of those like action person, like find a solution, get it done now. Like that's me. You know, I want help. I want to get it done. I want to be better. I want to treat myself better. I want to give myself exactly what I deserve. You know, I deserve forgiveness. I deserve to be told by me that what you're doing is enough. You know, it's more than enough. It's amazing. Jonathan, you know what I mean? So, a few things. Do some self-reflection. Recognize and accept the mistakes that you've done in your past. Accept those things as that's just what they were then. And they helped you become the great person you are right now. Understand that. Like, accept that. It happened, and that's it. It's set in time there, and it will never change. But what you do now is what's more important. Have some empathy and compassion, right? Treat yourself like I gotta just treat, like, you know, for instance, for me, treat yourself like you treat your daughter, Johnny. Like, would you ever tell her, you can do better, you can do more? Great job. Great job, Selena. But you can do better. You can do more. Oh my God. I'm having these in front of your face, guys. Restitution and making amends. Finding the person that's done you wrong, or you've done them wrong or something. And talking to that person and telling them, you know, I'm sorry, Johnny, I'm sorry, dude. My bad. I did not know. I am deeply sorry for never letting you feel like it's been enough. I'm sorry, dude. And I know what you've been going through. And I've been there from what we've been through. And it breaks my heart that I've been holding this above you for so long. It was not your fault. Seek professional help. Seriously. Seek professional help. I've been seeing my therapist for 7 years, and recently I only see him like every few months because, you know, I don't have to need to see him as much as before. And, but it could tell you how much it helps. It helps. Like, being able to do this speaks volumes from seeing a therapist. I'll tell you that right now. Meditation and mindfulness, man, like, take some time to be by yourself and just have a you to you pep talk in like the most positive, rejoiceful way. Big him up, big her up, lift him or her up, you know, acknowledge all of the amazing things that you've accomplished or things you've been able to, all the breakthroughs in your life. Do all those things. I know that there's someone out there that has been through something like myself, who has been holding anger or something over our own head for so long and not being able to just let go and forgive yourself. So this is going on my first full day of day one of forgiving myself and being better at that and treating myself exactly how I would literally treat my daughter. Forgiveness is your freedom from trauma. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness is power. Anyway, until next time, you know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing.